Welcome to the Inner Athlete Podcast, where we discuss all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring. Welcome back to the Inner Athlete Podcast. And we have a special guest here, my mum, Lorraine. For those that don't know, Lorraine, or mum to me, she's the operations manager for Inner Athlete. She's been an integral part to the business and make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. And yeah, just you want to give us a quick rundown of your history and in the fitness industry, but also with Inner Athlete as well?
So my background actually is fitness. I was in the industry for several years back in the day. Used to teach aerobics, and I was a fitness leader and all sorts of things there for several years. And my involvement, did you say, in the business? Did you?
Yeah, just kind of like what are your general daily duties?
Oh, right. Also, my background's business as well as life coaching, so which has been very helpful because those skills have been very useful with Inner Athlete. I help with the marketing, not sales, but more the leads, newsletters, communication with members, and the networking. There's a whole lot of stuff in the background that I do that you just don't see, but it's very integral to the part of running a solid business.
And sitting on Mum's lap is Luna, a little toy poodle. Yeah. She tends to come here first thing in the mornings and loves a good old hug and a cuddle and a play with. Definitely a lot of the members enjoy company and attention as well. But let's get into it. So we spoke about a little bit of the history, about your history, but then we'll kind of like go into like do you remember how I actually got into training? Into training.
Yeah, well, that was quite a few years ago. But Trent was always a big kid, and I mean a big kid, and fat. Well, he was, and look, I did my best. My background was in the field, and we used to watch his diet and make sure he was active and playing sport and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes it just didn't seem to matter, and we ended up taking him to various. We had personal training back in the day as well. We took him to Weight Watchers. That was massive. The Weight Watchers. You remember that when you were 13?
Yeah, I think it was Short Slim first. Then we got one-on-one like dietary coaching.
Yeah.
It worked, but the information was helpful, but it didn't really deal with the actual behavioural aspect. I reckon, from my perspective.
Yeah.
And at this time, I was actually 11 years old, 12 years old?
Yeah, pretty heavy, yeah. And you were still playing, but you know what? He was always a good sportsman, though. Always, you played your rugby league, which I dreaded. Yeah. And you played basketball as well. You were always good at everything.
Yeah, I played sport. I was just a heavy kid playing sport.
Yeah, and you played basketball too, and I remember you were on the ground a lot with the knee scenario.
Yeah, I always had, I think... When I was playing sports, I felt the burden of all that extra weight through my body. I was strong at the time, but I wasn't able to keep up, especially for sports like basketball or soccer. I played soccer for a little bit and got sick of it. Yeah. But any sport where I was more stationary, I was actually all right.
Yeah. But we were looking for solutions to help him to obviously help with his weight as well. So there was a point there when you were 13, we took you to Weight Watchers, and look, he did everything on his own. It was fantastic. We were there for support, did everything we could around him, and I think you lost, how much was it?
I think I lost about 22 kilos.
Like a huge amount of kilos, yeah. And yeah,
I think it was about a year or so.
And then you did so well. You felt so good, and then you into your first. I remember that your triathlon.
Yeah, I think I marked the milestone. I think I got down to it was 100 kilos, just over 100 kilos. Got down to about 80 kilos. Marked the milestone with a triathlon, like a sprint triathlon. I think it was like a 200 meter swim, a 10k ride, and a 3k run.
I always remember that day. It was huge. Yeah. And I also remember too, going back in the day, we were looking for personal trainers who specialised in working with kids, and I think Darren was working with Mark Stafford at that time.
Yep.
Yeah, Mark's well known in the industry. He had fit kids, and that's where Trent used to go. And that's the sort of thing we were looking for him, a holistic place where they would, cheer you on, help you with your diet, as well as the mentoring and the whole thing. And that's what we've created here at Inner Athlete.
Yeah, so I did Weight Watchers for a while, moved on from that. I was going to the gym myself as well. I think I had a gym membership at the time, where most gyms wouldn't accept anyone under the age of 16, and I actually had to get a doctor's certificate. Oh,
that was funny. The day we went to get a doctor's certificate, and the doctor was obese, and he says, "What do you want to go to the gym for?"
Yeah.
Why do you want it? Like, how ridiculous is that? Yeah.
That was quite funny.
Yeah.
Well, it was quite ironic than anything else.
Yeah.
Then got the gym membership, and I started kind of training, and I didn't really know what I was doing in the gym. Like, I did a little bit of weights when I was doing Fit Kids and personal training and whatnot. Didn't really get much exposure. Then I started reading up on T-Nation and bodybuilding.com, and started doing more research online into training programs and exercising. Started using different pieces of equipment and whatnot, more through exploration. Then I started to feel like I was getting a lot out of it from it as well.
Absolutely, and it helps too when you've got very supportive parents around that.
Yeah, and mum goes to the gym first thing in the morning, 6 a.m. And then I think Dad was going to the gym as well.
Yeah, he still goes.
He still goes to this point. Even Tia as well.
Yeah, she was going to.
Yeah, we're all going. So it helped to have in the right environment around. And I don't know. I think a light bulb moment kind of hit me in that sense. I don't know when, and where, or what happened exactly. But I guess I was just completely upset with just being so overweight and heavy, and I think I was at the time, at the age of like when you're 14, 15, especially as a boy, you become more self-conscious about how you look and how you're perceived by your peers, and you're the fat kid of the group and all that jazz. And I think when I was 15, I think I started playing rugby league. I think it was like 14, 15.
Yeah, you did. You shut my eyes with that. Yep, you did, and you're a very good player.
Yeah, it actually wasn't that bad, and I felt like I was actually in a sport where I could utilise my size and presence on the field, and it took me like a year or two to get up to speed with it, but I felt like playing all the other sports kind of like led me to that point as well, so it wasn't that bad in that sense, and just began to develop relatively quickly. In the sport of rugby league, I felt like it was more the sport that I felt like I belonged the most as well. And just continue on training, and then just continue on going to the gym, doing more research and understanding. And I think I was in high school when I was doing my year 10 placement. I was like, all right, I want to become a personal trainer. And I think when I finished year 12, it's like I didn't want to become a personal trainer. I think I just saw the hours of it, and I think I just saw it was going to be like it's a difficult job, but it's a rewarding job at the end of the day. Then I think I went to uni. Going to uni, I didn't get the grades. ATAR wasn't that great, but I managed to get my way in through a pathway uni for sports science at Deakin. Got into second year uni, ended up taking a year off, ended up going to the US to play rugby league over there. Just got like an amateur contract to play over there. It was just for good fun for a summer in 2012. Best summer. I really enjoyed it. And I was able to go with one of my best mates, Ray, as well. So, and that was a really cool experience to go over there, go play, go coach, just kind of live it up.
Yeah, I always remember that. Yeah,
that was good fun. Then Dad came over for a week and a bit as well.
Yeah, that's right.
That was really good. Yeah. I enjoyed that, and then came back. Then I think when I came back, I did a lecture in my undergrad. It was not my undergrad. My first year of doing my sports science degree, there was a lecturer there, and she said, her name's Nadia. And she said, if you want to work with, and I wanted to work with professional athletes, work in the sporting setting. If you want to work with professional athletes, you're going to have to work with Gen Pop, so just general population in a gym. And it's like, well, that kind of makes sense, because no one's going to give you the license to do programs if you've never worked with anyone in your life. So I ended up getting my Cert 3-4 as well. started working in gyms, started my own business as a subcontractor, operating out of a small gym, built up a business and moved my business somewhere else, built up the business again, and I started noticing I was more gravitating towards a certain demographic, and I was doing placement at a football club as well, and I was also working with an addiction rehab as well, and that's probably another podcast for another
topic,
day.
Yeah.
And when I was working at the football club at Frankston Dolphins, I ended up getting an opportunity to work with junior elite cyclists as well out of the gym. And I was able to work with them for quite a while as well. And a lot of them actually went on to, doing pretty well in their careers. Some end up riding professional, some end up riding, representing the nation or the state or whatever it may be. So that was a really cool opportunity to see that as well. And then I started to kind of see that the parents and the parents would come to me, and then the kids I'd be able to relate to the kids quite easily. And then we started to figure it out that this was kind of going to be the road that we go down, essentially, just because I kind of knew that was kind of a problem, but I didn't know that it was actually a problem. So I was kind of in the back of my mind, I was just kind of doing it on autopilot without even thinking about it. So then it kind of led to the general idea of that, that we could do something where I'm doing some level of mentoring with teenagers that are looking to get into the gym or looking to improve their athleticism or whatever it may be. Then one day I just thought of the name Inner Athlete. I'm like, what about that? And I asked a few people about what do you think about it and all that jazz, and it just kind of just stuck. Then as you do with branding, you get someone to design the brand for you, and I did that, and I was like, I don't know what else to do. This is it. And then we've kind of just stuck with the same branding ever since as well. So I've been pretty happy with those decisions that I've made, many, many years ago. But then one of my mates, Jamie, Melbourne Strength Culture, shout out to him. He went over to the US, I think it was 2016, I believe. And then he started working at Eric Cressy at a baseball facility, a strength and conditioning facility. It's private. And what he did there is he worked in a semi-private model. And I hadn't heard anything about semi-private training or anything like that, working in a small setting, individualized programs, and you're able to coach them, and rather than do personal training, which is just one-on-one. And there's a lot of dead time when it comes to personal training as well, where you're just having general conversations and all that jazz, rather than you're able to make a bit more of an impact and impact more people, right? But without diluting the quality of the product or the service. And then I thought about it. I was like, shit, I should probably try this and see how it goes. And it makes sense. From a monetary perspective, it made sense. From a time perspective, it made sense. And even from a demand perspective, it also made sense as well for the members, because, if anyone does personal training, you have prime times of 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., right? Mm. These are prime time. Then if you're only personal training for 45 minutes to an hour, it does not make sense to actually lock yourself in for one person. And if that person doesn't turn up, you don't get paid, or depending on how your business model is set up, and becomes quite difficult to make consistency. But I noticed that no matter what, if I allocated blocks of time, that I could, number one, get more people in. Number two, I could help more people. Number three, it's more bang for buck for my time and their time as well. That they could get more sessions in per session. They could get more sessions in per week than a personal training session. Personal training sessions at the time, I think, were between $80 and $120 an hour, where I would be in between the rate of that, doing where you could train 3 sessions or 4 sessions a week back then, and that was a really good value for everyone, and I got value, and then it eliminated all that dead time. So you're able to work hard, train members, and then members started to link up with one another, start to create friendships and all that jazz, and it was really cool to see them blossom. But also allowed you to almost some members will just naturally gravitate to other members and talk and how their day is going, how's your training going, and kind of it naturally builds a community as well, and it's not overwhelming. Then it kind of led to it gradually grew because members saw the value as I was training people from personal training and transitioned to semi-private. It was great. Then then basically, I think it was 2019, we moved out from where I was previously, and
that's another story.
Yeah, another story. And from there, I had set up Inner Athlete for where we are presently. So 2019, we all set up, ready to go, and basically we just kind of transitioned, and then everything just started to slowly grow. Then we had members, we could have up to, I think we had started with 4 members per hour, and then we gradually built up to 6, then we built up to 8 members per hour capacity, and that's where we like it. It's not too overwhelming. Everyone gets what they need done.
And just for those people listening to this, when we talk about semi-private, they're customized program. It's customized programming. It's not just a small group as such.
Correct. Yeah, it's different from like F45 or BodyFit, where it's standardized programming across, and there might be slight modifications depending on who walks in the door. Then we just kind of just built it up from there with the individualized programming, and then we've kept it individualized this whole time, and it's been really successful in that sense. I think of as standard deviations. So 66% of the population are going to fit in that middle one deviation either side of the norm, right? Then you have 2 standard deviations and 3 standard deviations. We kind of sit within that 2, kind of on the fringe of the 1 standard deviation to 2 standard deviations. The reason why I like to think like that is because you're going to have people that are looking for that next level in their training, and they have been working in group settings before, and they're just not getting the adaptations that they want. They're not getting the performance outcomes of what they initially had hoped for, because they're well too advanced, or the complete end of the spectrum is they're way too advanced. They're either too advanced for the program, or the program is too advanced for them. So that's when we come into play, and I feel like we don't really compete with anyone in that sense as well, but we help the people that have fallen through the cracks, because majority of programs out there and systems fit that standard deviation of people when it comes to training. Hopefully that makes sense.
Well, a lot of people are looking for, they want that personalised attention, they want customised to suit their needs so they can achieve their goals, but they also want it affordable too, and also the flexibility, which is great with the way we're set up by the app, and people can, they can book in or change their times, and there's no ramifications from that. So it's a lot more flexibility with the semi-private.
Correct, yeah, and then now we've got off-peak access as well, so members can come in outside of coaching hours, which is even better again. So members can come in. It's never busy during off-peak times. We might get 2 or 3 members training at the same time. They got all the equipment that they want to train in, and they don't have to go. If they go, sometimes at like other gyms, it's just overwhelming. It's just crowded, can't even get on the equipment that you want, or today we got toxic gym culture at the moment. People getting slammed filming other people as well, and if you want to be removed from that, this is it. This is like your own personal gym. Literally, it's big enough to be a nice personal gym in that sense.
So getting back to, we were going to talk about parents' involvement, weren't we, in kids?
Parents' involvement. So as Mum alluded to before, that you had you're always involved. You always were seeking solutions and alternatives to what was the norm. You knew that I didn't sit in that standard deviation, that normal average. I was not average by any means. I was above average in weight. But you always knew that I was different, and I needed a different solution. Different strokes for different folks in this sense. Then I think you started to go down that rabbit hole when it came to my injuries. You wanted to make sure that you had the reports, and it was being reported to the right people.
Being involved. See, I think people are overwhelmed. They don't know where to go or what to do. And as a parent, I was on to everything because of my background being in the fitness industry. I used to go to all the games and watch everything because I found people just aren't trained well enough too. So what we did with Trent, I know I'm sort of jumping a little bit here, but we did go to chiro at one point. Your growing issues, pains and aches and so forth. You might have the physio for the knee or whatever. But to make sure at the time, I think when you're getting personal training, to make sure the reports were coming to me, but also to the other people involved with Trent, because you can't be siloed off, because people aren't informed and can't help you make the best decisions for your child unless they're all collaborating together. So it's really important as a parent to be involved, not just drop off your kid and hope, and put your trust in whoever they are, whether they're the coach or even the personal trainers. You've got to watch what's going on and question things. And if it doesn't seem right, a lot of the time it isn't right.
Going back to that point, so when we get a lot of parents coming in through the doors, we want them to be a part of the process, and we're actually working on that and to actually make them more included. Most parents want to be involved but don't know how to be involved. I think that's probably the biggest thing. We know that they do but don't know how, but they know why they want to be involved, right? So it's like we help members cross the gap. They know they want to get stronger. They know why they want to get stronger. Like for our swimmers, right? We look after a lot of swimmers. They want faster times. We know why they want faster times, but they don't know how. There's a missing gap. There's the actual physical side of their development might be lagging or something like that. So we have to ask a lot of questions. That's why we assess them. We ask their coaches for feedback as well in terms of their performance. We ask the parents for feedback on their performances also, and see what we can actually change and what are the nuances or nuanced issues that they're having.
I think you should elaborate there. Again, many of our members will know how we operate, but they don't. I think people out there don't recognise the fact that we look at other aspects. It's not just about the training.
Yeah, so it's not just about the training. It's more about, because like I said before, we're doing a whole onboarding process with parents at the moment. We're working on that to make sure that they know what to do specifically to help transition to be in a position where they can better assist their child, and then they can see their child actually from all the components that we feed in from the training side that we do here, and the mentoring side as well. From the coach's side, from the sporting perspective, obviously you have to develop the sport, so you need a coach, right? It makes sense. And it's a parent's perspective, parent's side, where transport, sleep, food, school, making sure they stay on top of these elements. We can actually find ways that we can play to everyone's strength in order to help better develop the athlete at hand. So we have more positive things feeding into the athlete or their child, or to the child in question, in order to drive the how to reach the what. What do they want to achieve? Because we've already got a driving factor of the why. They already know why, what the purpose is of achieving what the goal is. They know what they want to achieve specifically, because they said, like, what's your goal? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to improve on? They just don't have the how. And the how is the bridge to help connect the two. We know to get from the why to the what.
So the bottom line is, we welcome parent involvement, as in finding out, where your child's at. I mean, we provide even parent reports at the end of the term as well. I mean,
yeah, so we provide parent reports. The parents come in, have a chat with all the coaches as well. We do regular testing for the lot of kids. Like, we test every 6 to 8 weeks. With our athletes, to actually make sure they're tracking. We have conversations with the members or the kids as well to actually say, how was your performance? What changes did you make? It's not just about saying, how did you go, and say, well done. We want them to recognize what was successful for them and how did they make that change? What did they do differently? Because when we create that connection between what the change was and what the outcome was, then they're going to more likely do that desired behavior at a higher intensity or a higher level. And that in itself will start to create that changes in behavior. Like with one of the girls here, Kate, I showed her, she was doing some post moves. She plays basketball. She's a center. I showed her one change she can make to a post move. She said it looked so much faster than what she was been doing. She did it. She practiced it a couple more times. I'm like, I want you to do that. And like, do you feel more explosive? It's like, yes. It feels easy. It's like, yeah, it should be. Then a week later, she ends up one game. She puts up 30 points, and another game she puts up 21 points and 12 blocks, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Making one change, she was already a really good basketballer, but it's that refinement that we made of the advice I had given her that just made just a slight shift, and then her confidence everything just kind of just blew up from there.
I think the bottom line here is we've created an environment, which is what we wanted for when Trent was growing up, where when we're talking about the young kids, where they feel comfortable, they come in, they can train, they can have a chat and a yak, and like a little community, in a way, a little community centre. That's what we wanted to, that's what we're looking at, even when we eventually go up.
Yeah.
Is to actually, at some point, you have your little lounge and all that sort of stuff, and run seminars upstairs, just a whole range of things. But the bottom line is we care, and we're here to provide, to help support and grow and develop a young person. It's not just an accolade in a sport. It's much more than that. It's helped them in their development, isn't it, always?
You have just listened to the Inner Athlete podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the release of weekly episodes. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get great tips on all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.